So last night I watched a movie called Sherlock Holmes. This is the one with Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law. So Robert is Sherlock and Jude is Watson, the doctor. It's when was this? 2009. So it's getting a little old now. It has some of that swashbuckling adventure as the first few Pirates of the Caribbean movies have. It's a lovely movie. There's two of them. There's this one, which is just titled Sherlock Holmes, and then there's the second one, which is titled Sherlock Holmes: A Game of Shadows. If you haven't seen them, please watch them. They're quite entertaining. Something I really like about these is that I've seen a little bit. There's one where Benedict Cumberbatch plays Sherlock. I think it's a British TV show. I think it's just called Sherlock. I haven't watched it. I have seen clips of it though, and I've seen clips of Sherlock, basically, or I should say Benedict, deducing this and that from a crime scene. Like he'll look at a tie and say, "Oh, that's the colors of this school," and he'll say, "Okay, there's, I don't know, ink under his fingernails," blah blah blah, something like that. And while I appreciate that from a watching perspective, because I can kind of put myself in Sherlock's shoes and, pretend to deduce with him. That's not really what I imagine Sherlock to be. I imagine Sherlock to be this absolute great pinnacle of detective work where he can look at a blank wall and determine all sorts of stuff from it, who's been there, where I would have no clue. And he does, and in this movie, he does that quite a bit. Like oh boy, there was a good part where he looked at Watson's fiancée, and he noticed, it's nonsense, right? This whole deducing stuff is of course nonsense, but it's still fun to think about. So she had a fleck of ink behind her ear, and he was able to deduce that she worked as a governess, that she's tutored. No, she worked for a governess, I think. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. And that she tutored a young boy of like 10, and then she responded, "He's 7." And Sherlock responded, "Oh, so he's tall for his age." Basically just stuff that makes him sound really smart, but nobody would ever be able to deduce. And then he goes on to saying he sees the... well, first of all, he says he recognizes that she must be on good terms with her employer, because she, as the tutor, would never be able to afford the beautiful necklace that she wore, full of rubies and diamonds. And of course that makes her a little offended, as it should. And he goes on to say that he sees the lighter skin around her finger, from where she used to be wearing a ring. And so he suggests that perhaps she dumped her previous fiancé and sought better pickings, insinuating that she was a gold digger and only after Watson's money, because he's a doctor and he's quite good at his job. And of course that gains him a splash in the face of wine, and they walk out. But the whole idea, everything's there. It just doesn't make sense to us, the viewer. And at the end, Sherlock, using his big brain powers, puts it all together, and then it'll show like flashbacks or stuff. That's what I imagine Sherlock to be. That it's at the tip of his tongue this whole time, and every little bit of information he gathers, and builds and builds and builds until only he can figure it out. I really enjoy that, and that really, in terms of what Sherlock Holmes is, I'm just saying the same thing over and over again. But that happens quite a bit, because the first movie is all about this man named Blackwood. And he is basically trying to overthrow the government using magic. Of course, magic doesn't exist. And Sherlock, although everything feels and looks like magic, this is also set back in whenever Sherlock was alive. I don't actually know. Back in the day. So there's not like photography. Well, no, there is photography, but it's like bad photography. Anyways, there's no way to like easily disprove some of this stuff, especially since Blackwood's schemes are quite thorough. And so while a lot of the people, the police force, the people in influential positions, political positions, believe it to be magic, it's up to Sherlock to unveil these mysteries. I mean, he goes from place to place. Of course, this movie was made kind of at the beginning of the punch kick, a fight era of Hollywood movies. So there's quite a bit of, Sherlock's a martial artist as well as is Watson, as well as being the world's greatest detective and world's greatest doctor, which can be a little goofy. But so he goes around. He's fighting. He's deducing. He's figuring stuff out. And it'll show you just a bunch of little itty bitty bits that at the end he'll wrap up, and everything will have a cathartic bow on top. Anyways, what was I talking about? Oh, so Blackwood is trying to overthrow the government through this mystical magic stuff, and Sherlock is off to stop him. How else I don't know. I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it, because it's quite good. It's nothing really to stew over. Like, it's not a movie that makes you think or makes you that sticks with you for a while. It's just a bunch of fun. And every now and then, I'll see it in my YouTube recommendations or in my Netflix recommendations stuff. I'm like, oh, that's a fun little movie. I'll give it a watch. Nice kind of thing. But it's also cool because there's multiple powers at play. Because like Blackwood is trying to overthrow government, but he's using this technology, basically radio waves. And this is the first time anybody has heard of that. And we find out that there's another player who he doesn't care about the government being overthrown, but he wants that radio waves because he wants to use it for his own schemes. And we discover that to be Moriarty. And that takes us right into the next film, where Sherlock meets Moriarty and they have to battle it out. Moriarty is now... How much do I want? I don't know. Because there's so many little bits that some of them you can catch on, but some of them are very much intended for you not to notice. Like the idea that... Once again, I don't know how much I want to say. I'll do this one. Like Sherlock finds a mixture of egg and then a honeycomb in this guy's office, and to us it's like, okay, whatever. He must have been hungry. But what the individual had been using that for was to make an old Egyptian recipe for glue, and it was designed to be washed away in the rain, so you could lightly glue something together and make it look like an act of magic had broken it. Like, there's no way any reasonable or average person would figure that out. And then the movie's full of that. I think it's just charming. And now I don't really know where I'm going with this. Basically to say that give it a watch, because it's quite goofy, quite fun. And it has that swashbuckling adventure that the original Pirates movies had. With Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow. I'm kind of surprised it didn't do better. Because it's fun. It is a fun little watch.